Right now, your brain is choosing to erase this moment. By tomorrow, almost everything you saw today will be gone. Not lost, deleted on purpose by a system older than language. Imagine the morning you just had, the exact color of the sky when you woke, the first thing you touched, the cool edge of a glass maybe, a song that played somewhere, the face of a stranger you passed. By next week, nearly all of it will be gone. And here is the strange part. That is the system working perfectly. More than 100 years ago, a man decided to measure forgetting. His name was Hermann Ebbinghaus. In the 1880s, he did something a little mad. He made up lists of nonsense syllables, sounds with no meaning at all. Then he memorized them thousands of times, alone. And he watched himself forget. What he found became known as the forgetting curve. Within 20 minutes, much of it was already gone. Within a day, more than half had vanished, not slowly, fast, like water through open fingers. Forgetting, it turned out, was not a slow leak. It was a flood right from the start. For a long time, forgetting was seen as a flaw, a weakness, the mind wearing out. But what if forgetting is not the brain failing? What if it is the brain working hard on purpose to throw things away? To understand why, meet a man who could not forget. His name was Solomon Shereshevsky, a Russian newspaper man in the 1920s. His editor noticed he never wrote anything down. He remembered every instruction, word for word. A psychologist named Alexander Luria began to study him. For 30 years. Luria read him long lists of numbers. Shereshevsky repeated them back perfectly, then backward. Years later, he still remembered them. He could recall a meeting from 15 years before, down to what was worn. It sounds like a gift. It was closer to a prison. Every word for him burst into color, taste, texture. A voice could taste like brine. A number could have a shape. He could not forget a face, so faces blurred into thousands. He could not read a simple story. Each word set off so many memories, he lost the thread. He struggled to understand a poem or grasp an idea, because meaning needs forgetting. To see the forest, you must let the single leaves fall away. Decades later in California, a woman wrote to a scientist. Her name was Jill Price. The scientist was James McGaw at the University of California. She told him she remembered every day of her life. Give her a date and she relived it. What she ate, the weather, what hurt. McGaw tested her for years, and it was true. They gave her condition a name, highly superior autobiographical memory. She was one of the first ever recorded, but she did not call it a gift either. She called it nonstop, exhausting, a running film she could not pause. Every old wound stayed fresh. She could not let the bad days fade. And here is the quiet, astonishing truth. Forgetting is not the absence of memory. It is its own machine, built, tended, switched on. In Texas, a scientist named Ronald Davis went looking for that machine. He studied the brains of fruit flies. Tiny. But the logic is the same. He found cells that release a chemical called dopamine. You may know dopamine for reward and pleasure, but Davis found it doing something else, actively erasing memories the brain had just made. He called it active forgetting, not the memory fading on its own, the brain reaching in and deleting it on purpose. Switch those cells off and the flies forgot less. Switch them on, and memories disappeared faster. There is, quite literally, a forgetting signal in your head. And it is running right now. To see what it deletes, go smaller still. A memory is not a thing in a drawer, it is a pattern. Connections between brain cells, tiny bridges called synapses. You have trillions of them. Learning builds new bridges. Forgetting tears them back down. And there are cells whose job is the tearing. They are called microglia. For years they were thought to be just the brain's cleanup crew. Then scientists like Beth Stevens watched them more closely. They saw the microglia reaching out, wrapping around a synapse and eating it, pruning the connections like a gardener cutting a hedge. The bridges you do not use, they quietly remove. And much of this happens while you sleep. A scientist named Giulio Tononi had an idea. All day your brain builds connections, thousands of them. By night it is crowded, loud, full. So in deep sleep it prunes, it weakens the weak connections and keeps the ones that matter. He called it synaptic homeostasis, a nightly cleaning, so the next day you can learn again. You wake lighter, emptier, ready. The forgetting was the rest. In 2017, two scientists put it plainly. Their names were Blake Richards and Paul Franklin. They argued forgetting is not a bug, it is a feature. The goal of memory, they said, is not to remember everything. It is to make good decisions. And to decide well, you must let go of the noise. The exact lunch from a Tuesday 2 years ago helps you nothing, so your brain clears it to keep what it learned. Forgetting the details, keeping the lesson. There is one more person you should meet. His name was Henry Molaison. For most of his life, he was known only by two letters. H.M. As a young man, he had terrible seizures. In 1953, a surgeon tried to stop them. The surgeon, William Scoville, removed a small part of his brain, a seahorse-shaped piece on each side called the hippocampus. The seizures eased, but Henry could no longer make a single new memory. He would meet you, and minutes later, meet you again, new. A scientist named Brenda Milner studied him for years. Every time, to him, she was a stranger. From his loss, the world learned where memories are made. He taught us this by losing what you keep without thinking. So think again about your morning, the sky, the glass, the stranger's face. Your brain is not failing to hold them. It is choosing gently which to let go. Because if you kept all of it, none of it would matter. Meaning is not in remembering everything. Meaning is in what survives the forgetting. The few faces you will carry your whole life, the handful of days that shaped you, a voice, a kitchen, a hand you once held. They mean so much partly because so much else was cleared away to make room. Forgetting is what makes a memory precious. It is the dark around the few small lights. Tonight when you sleep, the pruning will begin. Most of today will be quietly let go. And that is not a loss, it is care. An ancient system, older than language, deciding what is worth keeping. Trust it. It has kept you whole for a very long time. Right now, your brain is choosing to erase this moment. And in the small space it leaves behind, the things that matter can still mean everything.